Real Talk with Chris and Ross. We are designed for entrepreneurs and forward thinkers. We also cater very heavily around the real estate industry as a whole, bringing you hot topics and up to date content with a lot of amazing special guest speakers along the way. So sit back, buckle your seatbelt, and get ready for the best hour of your day.
Let's go.
Never get past that intro, bro. That intro is freaking amazing. And
especially for episode 44, the fact that we can look back at that and go, what a year, man.
Right? All those photos and stuff that you obviously credits go to you, Mr. Ross Rawson, for putting that together. Hats off to you. Looking back at all those photos, you're like, holy crap, that's been like our year for Team Freedom. It literally was Team Freedom. And interesting, we had that conversation yesterday. I was really looking about how I plugged in Team Freedom like 1,000%. It was, started by Doug and Lona. Thank you, Doug and Lona. As I mentioned, 21 or 22, maybe 21. And, things kind of handed off the baton, and I kind of took it in 23, literally first year. And we just went like pedal to the metal and went all in on it. And look, we built for the whole year. So this has been like, we're coming up on January will be officially 1 full year, 12 months of it running at 100%.
Wow.
And what we've done. So, welcome to Real Talk with Chris and Ross. By the way, sorry about that. Forgot the intro there.
All right. Hey, they've been with us now a year, so they already know what time it is.
At this point, you should know what time it is. You know what show it on. We're not on a Howdy Doody show or Mr. Rogers. This is Real Talk with Chris and Ross. But we are episode 44, which is exciting. We were just talking about that before we got on here. We'll probably end off with about 45 podcasts for the year, which is really close to almost one per week, we said, right? I mean, 52 weeks.
So excited in there too, right? So.
Right. Count for a lot of that stuff, which, takes some time off. But regardless, I think it's just amazing. We got this thing launched. It was a good idea conceptually to have this podcast. We kicked it off. And again, we stuck with it all year long. And we've turned out some amazing content. And I've got some feedback. You've got some feedback. People will listen to it. I got a lot of people who listen to it. So awesome. It's a great space. But welcome again for those who are new. Real Talk with Chris and Ross. We bring things that are all relevant to the real estate industry. And we just basically talk the talk.
That's right, man. Yeah,
right?
We're honest, transparent, open-minded, and we like to just deliver a ton of value on this show, man.
Absolutely. And value is value to someone who sees that as value, right? Otherwise, it's not value. And that's okay. We're not here to cater to everybody. We don't want everybody to like us. I don't like everybody, so we'll go there. We'll just keep it that way, right? Why should I selfishly think that everybody should like me if I don't like people too? It's kind of weird, right? You think it that way.
Chris, you're so funny because you're like, man, all right, we're just going to go at this podcast. We're going to be real authentic. And that could be dangerous because I might go off the rails, and I love it. You're already starting on a good footing.
Absolutely. You know what? Me Unchained is not a good place maybe for some. Again, it's biased opinions, but I like to free flow, and I'm very authentic. It's interesting. We were talking about that. I told you guys at Level Up a couple weeks ago at Dylan's event. A speaker there was a coach trainer asked the question, what is the most highest level of frequency in the universe, in the world? And everybody kept shouting out, love, love, love. They thought love was the highest frequency, right? And it wasn't love. It's authenticity. Being authentic is the highest frequency in the world from a level of human, and I'm like, shit, that's why I'm freaking on fire, dude, because I'm the most authentic mofo you're going to run into, because I keep it real. People get kind of butthurt sometimes about it, but whatever. Again, as Nikki said last week, right? All point of view. Point of view, it's just a point of view. My point of view, your point of view.
That's right.
Anyways, again, my hostess with the mostest, Ross Ross, and I keep getting these conversations here. We're getting our introduction here. Ross Ross the third, my trusty partner who's been here with me doing these podcasts from day one. So appreciate you, my friend. How are you today?
Man, I'm doing great. I just want to say too, man, it's been awesome to do this with you throughout the year. All of the amazing people that we connected with. I know it's been a huge value in my life. And just to be able to connect with the world. So, today I'm doing great, and just getting on this episode for 44 and thinking about how far we've came, man. I mean, it's kind of a victory lap, I mean, it's not easy to be consistent at something and to deliver, every single week, and to be here and to talk with you, man. I'm pumped. I'm doing great today.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you for riding along with me, man. Thanks a lot. You've been a great addition to this, and it was a great idea that we brought you on. So, as you mentioned we had a lot of great guests. I kind of want to just do a quick recap. We're coming towards the end of the year, right? Like next week, literally is Christmas. And after that, we got New Year's for about 2.5 weeks away from crushing out 2023 and bringing into 2024. So just doing a quick recap on some things that I want to look back at Team Freedom, as we talked about, that we launched, like officially launched at full force in the first quarter of January of 2023. And we're seeing where it has kind of designed itself out and kind of grown and developed and evolved from things like the team meetings and guest speakers that we've had amazing guest speakers all year long. Keeping up with the scripts classes and the podcasts and the tech classes and the EXP Explains. Then, these conversations we had with these guests on these podcasts we're doing too, which was an additional bonus. So I just kind of want to talk about that. This is kind of one of those things. We don't have a guest today, but man, I was like, I got some stuff I just want to shoot out and talk about as we come to the end of this year, because I feel like at the end of the year, you start hearing conversations. Mm-hmm. So hearing conversations from other people, as I do, my job solely is around having conversations with realtors on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And so you get to hear everybody's like end of the year speech, or I would say, what's that thing? What's the thing they do at funerals?
I'm blank, man.
Wait,
it's like not like
yeah, which it's your eulogy.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll blame that on COVID and old age. Eulogy. So it's like I'm hearing these people's end of the year stories, and I call them quote unquote eulogies, because I feel like it's like a death story.
Yeah.
And why I didn't do well, I didn't reach this. And everybody starts off with the same thing. Well, everybody's not probably down, too. So it's almost like a justification to make sure that everybody's encumbered into this whole entire story. So they don't
on that bandwagon that they don't even need to jump on, right?
They just justifies for them why maybe they didn't show up this year and reach that goal. But it helps make them feel better. Well, it's fine. But that whole piece of the market's been bad. Obviously, everybody's had a hard time. It's down, and it is. If we're being honest, it is. It is in 2020. That's for sure. I mean, 2020 was an unrealistic market anyway. So if you guys want to gauge that against 2020, that's kind of like apples and oranges. We can't even do that. It was a whole different market. But 23 is still challenging, but not impossible, because I got teams among my teams that are doing $60-70 million in volume this year, $100 million in volume this year. So is that like just specific in certain locations that people are crushing it, and then nobody else is buying real estate and selling real estate anywhere else? I don't know. Or
I don't think so, because I'm seeing it here in Michigan. We have amazing teams here at EXP too that are crushing it, doing a massive amount of volume. Yeah.
So it's there. Business is there. And a lot of it has been established based off, I think, a lot of relationships that they've built from years. That's definitely an attributor. Those have been in the business longer, and I would say that's probably an upper advantage or upper hand if you have been in the business longer, but not necessarily even being in the business longer, but being in the business longer and doing all the right activities while you're in business longer. Because people can be in the business for a long period of time and doing absolutely nothing and really have nothing, right? Just because you're moving, don't respect that for, move progression.
That's right. You could be moving in the wrong direction, right?
100%.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you kind of hearing on the streets? You're having conversations too. You have a team out there. Now you're in Michigan. What are some of the things you're hearing when you're having conversations right now?
That's a great question. Very similar to our group, right? A lot of people within Team Freedom, and just for the people maybe that are listening that, want to know what Team Freedom is, it's basically our group within EXP, right? So, Chris leads that, and, it's people from all throughout the country and countries, you would say, that just connect, and we really get to hear the perspectives all throughout. So if you're wondering more about that too, reach out to us, because I think that's something, for the listeners that don't know about Team Freedom, what that looks like. So it's a great community. But here in Michigan, and just the agents that I'm talking to, some in Ohio, some in Northern Michigan, it really is the same thing you just said, man. A lot of people, there's like, it's really black and white. People either crush it this year and they're saying, hey, one, I'm not participating in a downturn market. I'm just not going to participate. I'm going to still show up. I'm going to still deliver. And those people are seeing the results in their business, right? So they really take away the excuse of, houses aren't selling or interest rates are so high and I just can't perform like I used to. And then there's the other side of the fence where agents are like, man, I didn't have the year that I thought I was going to have. And, I'm bummed out, and, let's go 2024. Right. But I think it's fair, either perspective that you're on or the things that I'm hearing, ultimately, it's up to you. And it's really, how you're going to approach the market. So I think that, if you're an agent and you're wondering if 2024 is going to be your year, well, it really just comes down to what you do today, because it's just like a diet plan, man. I mean, yeah, you could say January 1, you're going to hit the ground running, but if you're not doing the things now, 2024 doesn't matter. 25 doesn't matter. 26 doesn't matter. So yeah, hearing the very similar things, man.
Yeah. I love Henry Ford. Whether you think you can, whether you think you can't, you're right either way.
That's right.
Right. Whether you think you're going to be amazing and crush it, you will. If you think you're not going to do it, you won't. It is right. Both ways are right. And the truth is, it is all about habits, right? People say that, your choices and stuff determine your future. No, it's your habits determine your future. You got to create the habits. Without being consistent and committed to something, you won't have the habits. This is something I preach on and we talk about on a daily, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not doing the space and business in which you think you should be at right now, or even in your life, let's forget about business.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say there's certain personal goals in your life that you've been wanting to achieve, but you just can't do it. That's because you haven't created the habits around it, period. Yeah. You haven't been committed to it, period. You haven't been committed to creating the habits to it, period. That's in the discussion. There is no more discussing that anymore. That's as far as you need to go.
Yep.
Yeah. Like there's no more trying to unravel other stuff. That's it. You're not committed and you're not disciplined and you don't have habits and rituals.
That's right. It. And, hey, with enough pain, sometimes you can come to the realization that I need to make changes. They say desperate times only produce creativity if you want that, and I know for a lot of agents out there, when their business is going well, I've watched so many great agents go, you know what? I'm going to make that change. I'm going to turn on the switch. I'm going to do the things. I'm going to get creative. I'm going to find ways to produce. And so you are absolutely right, my friend. It really is. Yeah.
It is. And you start to find out the whole fibers of who you really are. This is one of the things that I was listening to some podcasts, which I do every morning. And I love this Motiversity one on YouTube because it has a whole string of great speakers on there. And they all have true stories. And the number one thing they always mention about is the biggest time you get to a place in which you really are winning in life is when you finally find out who the fuck you are.
Come on.
Right? Who are you?
Mm.
And that's a really deep question because I bet you most people could just say that on like a real casual. Who am I? Well, I don't know who I am. I'm the guy who gets up. No, I'm the guy who provides for my family. I'm the guy who does this. I'm the guy. That's who I am. No, really, who are you? Are you really that guy or gal or person or individual that really shows up when the shit goes down?
Come on.
Right? Tough times create great people. Hard times create tough people, period.
That's right.
And the deep down fibers of who you are as an individual will determine in those hard times whether you get back up and stand up after getting knocked down or you just show the hell up, period. Most guys won't even show up. I mean, we see a whole level of people nowadays. And I mean, yeah, a world of almost laziness and entitlement where people aren't even showing up.
Yeah.
Right? Like the world is.
Or they get hit by life and they just take it. They fall down and they don't get back up. One of my favorite speakers, Les Brown, he says, listen, if you can take the hit and you can fall down, well, fall down on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up, and that is really it. And not only taking the hits of life, but like being happy about it. It's an honor to walk through this life. And it's, there's such a misunderstanding where people will think, and I've done this myself in the past. Oh, well, if I just had X, Y, and Z, I would be happier. I would achieve more. But that's not the truth. See, part of the blessing of being an entrepreneur is being able to navigate in all these different markets and navigate yourself as an individual. Like you said, man, take business out of the equation. The emotional, roller coaster that an entrepreneur can go down, if you can learn to hone that in and really be able to organize the chaos, man, your life doesn't matter downturn and upturn market. You're just going to crush it because you show up, you have the ability to take the hits, to get creative, to navigate, pivot, and turn and be successful at any moment, at any time. And sometimes that success isn't instant gratification. And I think that's the hard part, right? Is that it takes the compounding effect of showing up every day before you see those results.
Mm-hmm. I think the theory of, again, we spoke on the meeting about goals, being goal driven and having goals, and which I think are amazing. Don't get me wrong. For those that are listening, I think having goals is essential. However, I think the way that it's actually approached or the way it's looked at can be detrimental depending on the individual, right? Because you get so focused on the goal, which is great, but sometimes we're supposed to be committed to a process, right? Not the outcome, as they say. If you're so committed to the outcome or so focused heavily on the outcome or the goal, you won't get committed to doing the actual progressive daily required activities, right? One which is what John Cheplack talks about. I told him that he put a quote up there about he can only be controlled the 24 hours. That's it, 24 hours, not 3 months, not 3 years, or in 12 months. It's literally 24 hours. Because if you can really control and get under control your habits and rituals, your daily routines within a 24-hour period, your wins, that's where you become extremely dangerous in a good way. Because then you can conquer anything. Because if you can combine your powers to control that 24 hours to make sure you're staying within your parameters, staying on track, staying on the way you're supposed to be doing on a daily routine, I promise you'll reach the goal.
That's right.
It'll actually surpass the goal, and you'll keep going because now you created amazing habits and rituals that have gotten you there, but now they're ingrained in you. So you're almost institutionalized around this behavior that now it becomes natural, like brush your teeth, taking a shower, getting up, breathing, all the subconscious muscles that move your stuff. So you don't have to think about it. That's where you want to get to a place to be. Because when you do that, life changes dramatically.
That's right.
But yeah, it takes a while to get to that point. And you're right, it doesn't happen overnight. But you really have to be committed to a process. And you're right, everybody's looking at this point. I feel like we've gotten into a world now where, the social media, the instant gratification, the Siris, the Alexas, all that crap that literally you can get something within moments, like seconds. It takes zero energy to ask a question now and get an answer. That's got to be detrimental to the way the human behavior acts. It has to. It creates a laziness effect. You got to. You can't argue that. When you had to go get up and go actually dig into an encyclopedia or do some research, go to the library, get a paper and pencil, dig through 4, 5, 7 different books, and then find that answer, and then get to the next one. It takes the next one. That required energy, time, brain power.
That's right.
And drive. And now it's like, oh, Alexa, tell me what blah, 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 blah is. And all of a sudden you get the answer in 2 seconds. Well, the answer is this. Okay, cool. God, that's got to be bad.
Yeah.
And again, people out there listening, you can, combat that all you want. That's fine. A point of view again. Point of motherfucking view. That is my view.
That's right. And that's your truth, man. And I actually agree with you a lot on that too. And, oftentimes too, I think to your point, those, systems or instant gratification of getting answers without actually doing the research can kind of give you a falsification of shiny object syndrome in your own business. Because the chat GPTs come out and the Zapier connections, and I'm going to automate this and do this, that we really forget about the simplicity of at least the real estate business and what it actually takes to grow. Because there is all these amazing resources out there that we can tap into and really feel like, that's going to make my business amplify, or, if I get all this resources, man, it's just going to go off the moon. But that's just not how it is. It's really not. Trust me, I've tried. And, one of my favorite things that the first real estate team that I ever worked with, they would just ingrain in us is stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Stop trying to actually go out and, think that you're going to change the way that this is, and just do the mundane tasks that that work,
And, again, not trying to say that or devalue the fact of being automated is essential. Or leveraging is not essential, because everybody that knows me knows that's my favorite freaking word, leverage and scalability. So in your business, yes, you need to get to a point in which you can scale and leverage, and that is using automation, finding ways to leverage off things that you don't really need to be doing, right? It can be done on a macro level. But here's the kicker to that. You must first become a master in that space. Then you automate it. Don't automate it based on the fact that you want to be lazy and not want to do it, because that'll backfire on you. There's a difference between getting to a place that you've mastered and being really good at and actually worked, immersed yourself into it, and then decide to automate it to leverage you off to get to the next level in your business. But so many people are just going automatically to automation and leverage, and they don't even know how the hell to even run that piece of business, which means they don't even know how to run themselves in business, which means that ends up being detrimental to it failing because you never had skin in the freaking game to begin with, right? You bought something superficially with the intention of never even learning how to fucking do it. And yet you put it to use, put it to work. And then when shit hit the fan, you were stuck holding the can in your hands because you had no idea even how to run it, how to do it, how to operate it, what the efficiency level was, what I should be doing. You put yourself pin yourself to the back of the wall. So, I mean, that's my piece. That's my thing. But, either way, I'm not against automation. I'm not against leverage. I'm against people who don't want to go do the work first to get to the place in which they can leverage and automate then. That's the key. Growth comes when you actually put the work in. It doesn't come naturally. You don't wake up tomorrow and have growth.
No,
You have to work at it. That's my point. This whole conversation right now at this point is you got to go to work.
that's right.
But anyways, I got side steer here, sidebarred.
No,
But I really,
great.
yeah, is a little bit of other stuff. Okay, so we have a lot of things that are going on. I mean, me personally, I want to kind of integrate some of the things we've gone through. I mean, I personally have done some lot. This 2023 has been a year of me of growth.
Mm-hmm.
Team Freedom was a piece of it. I really wanted to put that to test, and I appreciate a lot of things that happen with it. Obviously, I can't take all the kudos for that because there's a lot of people that helped me build that on the back end. I appreciate that. Marissa being one of them. She actually put all of it together in the beginning. So my hat's off to her, and I appreciate that because I couldn't have done it. So I will give credit where credit's due. I actually took it and ran with it afterwards. So, but yeah, now we've successfully seen it go with its gun. But now I just, a lot of changes for me. As you all know, maybe listeners do not know, I did uproot and leave California, and I moved 3,000 miles across the Pacific Ocean. Now I'm actually right here in my beautiful backyard of Hawaii in Kailua. But that was a big change, and there's a lot of things that come with it. Everybody's like, "Oh, instantly you're going to move over to Hawaii and things will be beautiful." No, life is different when you make moves. For those who haven't made moves, like literally uproot your life and move it across the world. So yeah, I mean, my set of challenges there. You having your set of challenges and growth.
I want to touch on that too, though, because just as being your friend and being the co-host on this show and watching you go through that season, it is amazing that when you have the desire and you fix and aim on something, how you can actually achieve it. And I know in the beginning of a lot of these episodes, you would say, "Man, I got to get to Hawaii. I'm going to Hawaii. This is happening." And then all of a sudden, the universe aligned. Of course, you put in the efforts, but you had your eyes on it, and then boom, my boy is in Hawaii, and he's actually living out what he said he's going to do. And I think that's a great reflection of your leadership too, man. Just to give credit where it's due, is that you do follow through on the things that you say that you're going to do. Doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have challenges. However, back to all your original points in the beginning of this podcast is, following through, showing up, actually achieving the things that you want to achieve. And you've done that, man. So I guess, what are some of your challenges during the process of going from, California to Hawaii? Just for the listeners listening.
Well, I mean, anybody who uproots himself and moves, number one, to a completely different geographical location, you have culture changes. You have shifts in the way things are done. And it might be irrelevant, not something that you think about when you're actually initiating this option of making a move. You're thinking, "Oh, I'm just moving." But you have to understand that, when you spend a lot of time in one specific place, you do become institutionalized.
Yeah.
Right. And, I spent 32 years in Sacramento, which is a long time. Moved there when I was 19. I thought, "Oh, I'm going to be here for a little bit." Next thing I know, I'm there 2 kids later and that kind of stuff. And it is what it is. Right. 32 years in one area is a long time to be immersed into a place where you've created a lot of friendships and you've created a lot of opportunities. And, you've had a lot of challenges and things and memories there that you're like, wow, it's your life. It's like the major chunk of your life. And then you uproot it and leave. So yeah, there's that piece there, depending on how you can retain that and show up for that. Everybody's different. I know people who can completely cut themselves off and be completely in a different place tomorrow and be totally okay. That's your personality. Mine was a little bit different from that. I do I kind of attach myself to certain things, and I did. Being attached to that area and my friends and that whole environment, it is a comfortable environment. And then you come over here, and although it's beautiful, for sure, it's paradise, and you're grateful for it every day, but you also understand the challenges of realizing you are in a different place. You are in a different culture. You are in a different community. You are in a place in which you really don't know a lot of people. And so, which again, that's my thing though. I thrive off that. I love meeting people. So I've been doing that on a daily, just meeting people all the time, which is fun. So a part of it was a little scary for sure, like anything else in life. But the other part of it was really exciting because now it's like you're meeting a whole other group of people. It's like going to a school for the first day, right? Again, and you're meeting all these new friends in a whole different school, which again, that's some people will probably peel their skin back thinking, "Oh, if I had to go to a whole new school, meet new people, I'd die." Like, cool, bring it on. I want to meet some new people. I'm as excited, especially my place in my life right now. So yeah, I would say that there's a lot of growth that happened for me in the last probably, year for sure. This 2023 was a big change for me at all levels. And I'm grateful for all. I'm going to start with this and say, I'm grateful for all of it. I don't regret not one bit of it. Because I truly am now in a place where I have surrendered. Like I keep saying in every one of these podcasts, I've gotten to a place where I've learned to let go of the control of my life. And that sounds crazy. People are like, oh, what does that even mean? Yeah. But, yeah. Seriously, when you get to a place in which, right?
Yeah.
If you can get to a place in which you can learn to let go of the control, and all you control freaks out there, you think you're not like, I don't have, you do have a problem. Look in the mirror, you got a freaking problem.
Yeah.
You just don't know it yet, and you don't want to admit it, but you got a control issue. And as humans, it's kind of designed that way because the human brain is designed to survival.
Yeah.
That's the number one job of a brain, is to survive. Make sure the human body is surviving. So you're going to control every element of your day that you possibly can. First off, for survival reasons. That's just how it starts. But then it segues into other places that all of a sudden you start to control things, because guess what? We have free will. God intuned in all of us free will. That means the ability to make decisions on our own.
That's right.
And a lot of them are not good decisions. Trust me. You can attest that too, right, Ross? Like, we make bad choices. So yeah, I'm just in that place now where I've learned to fully let go of control of everything and every outcome in my life. Now, that doesn't mean I'm sitting on the couch eating bonbons and watching freaking Netflix series. No.
Yeah.
No, it requires a level of energy too that I must put forth to get to places that I want to go, plus I actually have a destination that I want to reach as well. So yeah, that's kind of my spiel so far.
Well, I think though, there's a lot of people that struggle with letting go. And I think a lot of it is just that, unconscious programming that we grew up with. I mean, the saying, you want it done right, you do it yourself. I mean, we've been told that all of our life, right? And so I think there's a lot of people that also identify with that. I know for myself as well, it was really hard for me to let go of control in my business in a lot of areas in my life. But until you actually do find that freedom, you kind of are just spinning in circles, right? And you do. There's so much peace after you let go. In the beginning, right? Like, I know for myself, letting go control, man. Oh man, it's a hard practice. It almost feels like sitting down and doing your first meditation. Your mind's just spinning, but after the practice of it, right? Because it does take practice. You kind of have to let go chunks at a time, right? Like, okay, I'm going to allow this, or I'm going to let go of this. But I mean, you jumped right into the sea. I mean, you went from California to Hawaii and just really jumped and let go. So that's cool to see, man.
It was, but there's also a lot of work ahead of that. I really started 2023 off as a year of understanding and knowing my purpose, which I really didn't know what it was at the time. And most people don't. If you ask them, they probably have no idea. And two, I'd spent a lot of time and committed to doing a lot of things I had been putting off for a long time. And three, I really poured into myself with the self-care and the personal development pieces, where I committed to doing something every day, which was that we talked about the savers from Hal Elrod. And those 6 things that are done every day, I've been doing those on a daily, every day, this entire year. I have missed a few days, but hit or miss. I'm not saying I was perfect across the board, but.
And what are this? What can you tell the audience too, if they haven't read The Miracle Morning, what Savers is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a great book. First off, if you haven't read it, shame on you. You need to. The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod would be an amazing book. So anybody who's struggling with life challenges right now and personal issues that you just can't break through, I can tell you why. Because you haven't put yourself in a place in which you're able to get through that. You're not going to do it on your own. First off, you're not going to wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, all of a sudden light bulb goes off, light switch comes on, and I'm just so much better now. I've let go of all my 30 years of my dog shit life, and I'm just so much better. Not going to happen. So you got to work at that. And if you're hitting the wall constantly, still like doing the same things over and over again, right, expecting different results, which is insanity, you need to make some changes. And it starts with you.
That's right.
And preach it constantly. So yeah, get the book. If you haven't done it, do it. I'm telling you right now, Hal Elrod. It's a great book. It's a easy read. That's the thing. You don't even like reading. It's an easy freaking read. So if you can't even commit to that, you're not willing to commit to change your life, then that's just, I don't know what to tell you. But
right? And I love that book because if you guys, if the listeners out there, you've heard of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, or Truthful Living, there's a lot of these concepts that are kind of brought into a practical sense, especially for like a daily routine, right? So I think that book, you're 100% right. It's a must read for anybody, not just realtors, not just entrepreneurs, really anybody that's looking for growth in their life in all areas, because it just doesn't cover, the business or finances or whatever. It covers all areas of your life.
Oh, it does. And if you're sitting there evaluating your life, and I know everybody does, that some of them just do it in silence and in dark corners where they don't want to be notified, and people don't want to, they're ashamed They're obviously they're ashamed. We all are. I was ashamed, embarrassed for a lot of stuff in my life. And if that's who you are too, then it's okay. But you got to get up there and you got to do some work, because otherwise you'll sit there again and suffer in silence for years of your life. And the next thing you know, you're going to wake up, trust me, and you're going to be 50 years old, 60 years old, and you're doing the same shit that you've been doing over and over again, same nightmares, same habits, same issues, same challenges. And you're going to wonder why. It's because you never took time to really plug into yourself and change the core fabric of who you are. That's the key. The people that are successful in life is because they took the challenge on to make different leaps and bounds, but they started with taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
It's the foundation. You can't build a house from the roof down. You got to build the house from the foundation up.
That's right. And you know what? One of the things I think too that I've learned in my life is that if you've brought yourself to where you're at today and you're still getting the same results, then you're going to have to borrow someone else's brain that either A, has what you have or has done things that you want to do to get you to where you are. And that's why reading is so powerful. I know you're a big component of that. And honestly looking at yourself in that mirror and going, hey, you know what? I brought myself here, and my actions and attitudes and results are not reflecting the things that I want. So I need to go and seek the information to get me to where I am today. And there's no shame in that. There really isn't. I think actually there is more of a victory lap when you look in that mirror and say, you know what, I need to change. I don't have the answers, or I want to make, changes in my life to get me to where I want to go. And, I haven't got that. So I'm going to make the change today. And I understand that it's going to take time, but I'm going to start getting resources in my life and reading the books that help me get there. I mean, that's really important.
It is. But most people will not do it. Mm-hmm. If we're being completely honest, you're going to have people who listen to this podcast. They're going to turn it off, and they're going to keep driving down the road, and they're going to turn some other music, and they're going to just forget about life. And they're going to think, oh, I'll go to bed tonight, wake up tomorrow, another day. And they're just going to be completely irrelevant to the fact that they are not at their highest potential. I don't want to use negative words like dysfunctional or fucked up or broken, because we heard that was wrong. But we're just not. Right? I mean, like, we're not all broke. Okay, yeah. We're just not all playing at the highest level and frequency that we probably could be.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put it that. A lot of us are not playing at the highest level and frequency that we potentially could be. And if that doesn't bother you, then I don't know what does.
Yeah.
Like, you can't look at that and be like, shit, I want to work at a highest level frequency in my life. I want to work at my highest potential on a daily basis. This is your only one life in this planet. Do you realize that?
Yeah.
Stop and take a look at that. One life. You don't get a reset button. You don't get a restart. This isn't a video arcade game. This is one quarter, one coin, one game.
Mm-hmm.
And we get one shot to do it right. And a lot of times we don't do it right. This whole entire path and journey, we're not doing it right. Yeah. I can attest to that.
Because tomorrow is going to come and it's going to be different, or next month's going to happen and then I'm going to get it, or, it really is. Or we just don't give ourselves the permission. We really believe that we are supposed to be where we're at today, and we don't give ourselves the permission to say, you know what? No, I actually can go after my goals and achieve things. And then instead we just sit back and say, you know what, maybe I'm not supposed to, or, maybe this just is my life or whatever. And that's just a crock of bullshit, if you ask me. That's the biggest bullshit you'll ever tell yourself. And you know what? The other thing to that is your thoughts, my friends, have power. However, they're not powerful unless you take action on them. So if you're believing something in your mind, you don't have to align with it. You can actually throw it in the trash, say, fuck that. I actually want more for myself. And I'm going to actually start, like you say, on your mornings, you have an I am affirmation. I am, successful. I am this, because you are taking the garbage, throwing it out, and you're actually putting good, resourceful information in your brain, which propels you forward. So you don't have to align with it, guys. You're not all the thoughts that you think you are, and you are able to be successful if you give yourself the opportunity to have that. That is so true, man. I mean, for me too, give yourself permission.
Yeah.
Give yourself permission.
So many of us don't. And here's the funny part. This is such a weird conversation again, because people will look at this and listen to this conversation and think this is a crock of shit too. And like, whatever, you know what? I'm going to go out and grind, do what I got to do. And that's fine too. And there's probably people out there, true story, that go out and grind that are not working at their highest level of frequency that they could be, but they're still being in their own rights. They're very successful, right? Mm-hmm. The difference is it's not sustainable, right? They're going to get to some point where it falls apart. that sandy foundation gets washed out to sea. It will. It holds up for for a short period of time, then it falls apart. And then you start seeing little bits and pieces of your life kind of deteriorating, and you ignore them and pretend it don't exist, and you keep moving forward in life because that's what you know you're supposed to do. And eventually, at some point, the whole entire foundation falls out and everything comes to the ground. It's like House of Cards.
Yeah.
So it's all about sustainability too, like how the longevity of this is really going to work. And it doesn't work forever unless you pour back into yourself. And I love what you said. Give yourself permission, because this is a place in which I think people do more self-doubt. You know, it's okay to be fear. Let's put that way. It's okay to have fear. It's okay to be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally okay to be afraid. It's not okay to be doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should never be in a place where you doubt yourself or lack your disbelief in who you really are and what you deserve.
Mm-hmm.
Fearing is one thing, doubting is another. And it takes courage. I talked about this the other day in my reel. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to go out there and do things. And number one, for me personally, it took more courage for me to stop making excuses for myself.
Wow.
That was my biggest courage. My biggest leap of courage was to stop making excuses about why I wasn't showing up, why I wasn't getting up.
Yeah.
You know, those two things, showing up and getting up. Why? That was my excuses. I'd find every excuse in the world. And that took courage to get beyond that and stop making them. And everybody out there listening to this call right now or this podcast, you're in the same boat. You're constantly making excuses, but you don't have enough courage to stop doing that.
Yeah.
You know, it's so much easier to blame everybody else and everything else in life on your inability to reach your goals, but you don't want to actually call yourself out, right? You don't want to confront yourself, but you're so quick to pull the trigger on everybody else because it's easy.
So easy.
So easy. So now it's like, yeah. But yeah, so this is just, you know, I can talk about this all day, you and I both. And this is this place in which, you know, wherever you are in your business this year, this is where everybody again takes the end of the year because you're coming to the end and you go back and reflect. You should. And if you're not, then shame on you. Oh, I forgot. Sorry, squirrels. We were supposed to talk about Elrod, what the sabers were. It just got to me right now.
No worries.
Yeah. So the sabers, get the book. But anyways, essentially, there's an acronym called SAVERS, SAVERS, and that's the acronym. And it stands for 6 things that 6 most successful people in the world do, because there's one commonality between successful people. They all have habits and rituals. That's what got them to be successful. So, which is a good key indicator that probably you should have a good clue of starting to do that, right? If those people are doing it, I would probably do that too.
That's right.
And so SAVERS, the S stands for silence. So that's meditation. A, affirmation. V, visualization. E, exercise. R, reading. And the last S is scribing, which is journaling. So those are 6 things that you do. And they're 10 minutes each. And actually, you can do it for 5 minutes each. You can do whatever you want. You can do it for 30 minutes. If you want to do 5 minutes, and I know we've talked about this, right? Even Nikki talked about in the beginning, meditating for her was like pulling her skin back. It was not her thing. And it's probably not most people's things.
Yeah.
But everything becomes a thing when you do it long enough and you practice at it. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Even a bad habit becomes a thing. Drinking alcohol becomes a thing. Eating bad food becomes a thing. Not going to the gym becomes a thing. Everything becomes a thing when it's done consistently over and over again, repeatedly over and over again. So
that's right.
Right? So do it. Show up. Start doing those meditating pieces. Meditate. Figure out what that looks like for you. And if it's about, and it took me, honestly, I'm a squirrels kind of guy too. So it pulled and prodded for me to actually sit there and focus on it. And I had to do certain things and I practiced at it. And now I've done it this whole entire year. And I absolutely love to sit in my couch every morning and grab my coffee. I'm up at 5 to my thing. It's still dark. And I have my coffee and I just sit there in silence and I close my eyes and I meditate and I focus on my breathing. I focus on my energy. I focus on, and I do the I am stuff. That's my I ams. I am great. I am wonderful. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm courageous. I'm strong. I'm vowed. I'm worthy. I'm loved. All of those things. I am a winner, right? All these things you say. And when you're in that really core piece of silence in your life, right? That moment, it's so calm and peaceful. It just like absorbs into you like a sponge.
Right.
You're a dry sponge and that's a wet puddle. So yeah, that's the saver. Sorry.
I think that's cool.
And you're doing some things too. Obviously, I think every morning too. You're jumping on that bandwagon and doing that. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so I have been doing this for literally 7+ years. This book goes everywhere with me, you know. And in fact, I still have, you know, things that I wrote down 8 years ago that I'm aiming after. And you know, I bring that to fruition because you need to have a roadmap. You need to know where you're going. And what I love about the journaling aspect and the affirmation aspect for anyone that's listening is that when you write something down every single day, okay, your brain unconsciously and consciously is going to start to say, hey, we need to figure this out. We have to start to, head in this direction because we're writing and speaking this over our life every day. And so this is an important value that we see. The other component of that is that for me, when I write down my goals, for me, every year, what I do is I write down how much I want to make for that year for the financial component. I obviously have some personal goals, but just for the financial component of why this is such a powerful practice is every time I sell a house or I get something under contract or whatever, I cross out that amount and I subtract what is coming in, and I'm able to see, oh my gosh, I can flip past my notebook in the beginning of the year and go, whoa, here we are in December, and I'm actually close to my goal. Oh, and I'm actually watching this come to life. And so it reaffirms what you're doing. And it reaffirms that the direction you're heading in is great. And you can actually go back and start to celebrate, like you said, Chris, reflect on where I've came from and what I'm doing. So that's a big piece to it. Exercise is definitely huge. I think that that's a must. You got to have the brain, mind, body, spirit, all has to be aligned. And then, for me, I do a lot of praying. I love, and that's definitely a sort of meditation. But I believe that connecting with, my creator or the universe or whatever you believe in, and taking my goals to the forefront of that just gives me a superpower. It's just something that I think that amplifies my success and helps me know that I'm not in this alone, that I'm actually with God. I feel connected, and I feel that, hey, if I'm connected to this living being, this, energy, we all talk about vibes or whatever. Once you understand the fabric of, who we are, man, you will really realize that saying these words, writing these things actually have power, that you actually have power in believing, visualizing, and seeing those things. The other piece I don't do savers all the way. But I do believe in the visual aspect. So after I write out all my goals and my affirmations, I like to put my hand on my notebook, say them out loud. I close my eyes, and then I see them. So whether it's, hey, I want to have a house in Florida, or I want to have that vacation spot, or I want X amount of people on my team, or help X amount of clients, I'll actually close my eyes and start to imagine those clients turning the key over to their new house, and the smile on their face of how pumped they were to work with me and get that achievement. Or I'll imagine my kids playing in the sand and Florida and what that's like. And as it becomes real, in the visualization, again, my mind and unconsciousness is going to come back and say, how do we achieve this? How do we get there? So those are just some of the things that I do to help me get my goals, man. And it's honestly, I've brought so many people through this that I've coached on my team, and agents that have either left to go into different careers or they've stayed in real estate. I haven't heard one person say, you know what, Ross, that was a waste of my time. And I don't want to do that anymore. In fact, guys still call me. I got a buddy that was on my team that's now in logistics. And he said, dude, I've been writing down all of my goals in logistics on my notebook that you taught me how to do. And I'm actually getting the contracts that I want out. And I'm like, well, yeah, dude, there's no accident. You have a vision, you have a purpose, you're aiming, and your mind is ready to go after it. So yeah, I love this stuff. This is probably one of the core things for me that helps me get through my days and those hard days. Because when you have those hard days where you're like, I don't want to get out of bed, or, I don't want to go off and, do this, it's too daunting, right? You're able to go back to that notebook and go, look how far I've came. No, I'm going to put in the effort. I'm going to put it in. And sometimes when I write down that goal, a spark lights me up and I'm like, let's go. Let's get after it. Like, it literally can take a bad attitude and realign you to go after it, man.
I love it. And it works. And look at you, you're on fire. And I've watched you personally, Ross, grow since you've been here at EXP. And, being part of the team and doing all that stuff, you've taken on a whole other role of leadership yourself. And, that's amazing too. So kudos to you for even putting in the time, energy, and effort into wanting to be a better person, not even in business, but a better father, better husband. And, again, it does not like he's not immune to having his share of problems, because life is life. And Ross has problems like we all have problems. Everybody listening has problems. He's just choosing to take the extra initiative to kind of shield him and help protect him, to harness and protect his goals, his dreams, his aspirations, his thoughts. It's what it takes. You can't go walk through this world thinking that you're not going to be dented, dinged, and bumped into, and bruised, and cut by what's going on in the world, and think that's how life's going to be.
That's right.
Life is a danger zone. You got to make sure that sounds so cliche and stupid, but it's true. You got to get yourself an armor up every day. It means mentally, spiritually, physically, you got to armor yourself up. And whatever. And again, for those who want to hear it, great. If you don't, great. But I tell you, ones that don't want to hear this, and the ones that think this is kind of just stupid and dumb, I promise you, within the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to be wanting to listen to this kind of stuff, because you're going to be going and looking in the mirror and having these questions, because you failed to think that there was a problem or an issue or something that you needed to do to work on yourself, to consistently improve, to be better, to elevate yourself. You're going to be stuck in the mud. I promise you that. I will guarantee that. You will be in a place. So, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, we had a great time again, chatting. I appreciate it, Rod. I always love these free spinnings here because it's fun. And I just like to get things out. I like to talk about, this year. I want to see a little bit about what we've come through with Team Freedom, with you, with myself, and those out there listening to us. You guys all had your journey too. And I hope and pray that each and every one of you guys maybe takes on this new found, developed space in your life for 2024. And like, I really want to improve on who I am as a person. Like, I want to know who the F I am.
Yeah.
If you do anything this year for 2024, find out who the hell you are. Because you know what? It might be scary, the fact that you realize you're not the person you thought you were.
Yeah.
You might not like the things you thought you liked. You might not want things you thought you wanted. You might not be the person you thought you would be. That's just crazy. And maybe that's why most people don't want to do it, because they're afraid to find out what they're really going to find out. I don't know. But
Yeah. And I want to touch on that, right? I mean, hey, nothing comes overnight. And I think that's also why it's so hard, is that back to that instant gratification. I know for me, a lot of the things that I've learned this year, I kind of felt like a bamboo being planted, and for those of you that don't know how bamboo works is, that bamboo is only going to be so high for the first 4 years, and you got to water that sucker every single day. But on the I think it's the 4th or 5th year, that thing shoots up 60 feet. Right. And so sometimes when you're looking at your efforts and your growth, you have to understand that it's all for a reason. It is all for a reason. I mean, just my own story. I used to run a photography company, and I used to wonder, man, why the heck am I doing a photography company? And how is this ever applicable? And one of my buddies at the time, who's a very successful entrepreneur, he said, Ross, this is a life skill that is going to amplify your business. And I just kept on doing the mundane things. Well, then I get into real estate. Now, all of a sudden, my video and photography efforts amplified my business here to a new level, which has helped me get my business. So understanding that as you're heading down the road of success, it might not all make sense now. However, the skills, the tools, the resources, the information that you're going to be able to package up for yourself as you're working continuously every day, eventually it is going to come. The growth is going to be there. You're going to have that 6-pack, that took you a year to build, whether it's in the spiritual component, the financial component, or physical component, but you're not going to have the 6-pack if you're not going to the gym every single day. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You got to go on and put the work in.
No, you can't pray for 6-packs and then get it. Yeah, you actually got to put some work in, right? Which is why the effort's required on your end as well. And nothing comes overnight. So you're right. I love that analogy. I remember that one. It was in the book about the bamboo. It takes years for it to get to a certain point, and then all of a sudden, boom. But it's also like the $1 million and the penny theory, right? In the compound effect book, we all want that instant gratification. So $1 million to us seems like it's the win, but in all reality, if you waited around for that penny compounding and a daily doubling, you would actually see it. But it wouldn't happen until day 30 and 31. Actually, like the last 2 days, it finally takes and surpasses the $1 million. So it's all your all perspective, all point of view. Again, everything you look at and decide whether that works for you. This podcast might even be for you. Maybe you don't want to hear this kind of stuff. That's fine. Maybe you do, but I can tell you that it's relevant. If you're looking to find a way that you can actually excel, elevate, exponentially grow personally and in business, this podcast should be something. This session should be something you should listen to.
Yeah.
Because there's no easy button, and your money isn't going to buy it.
Yeah.
You're going to buy your way to success. You have to create that.
Yeah.
You're not going to buy a 6-pack or a beautiful body. You got to work at it. It's earned.
And if you want to hear something great, guys, too, go back to the episode where we interview Chris and he tells us his story, and you can see that the continuous efforts of pursuing your dreams can look different, can be different. But the one thing that doesn't change is Chris's pursuit or anyone's pursuit towards their goals, right? And that really is it. And it's so important. So like, as Chris is saying this, and I'm saying this, these are two perspectives that are definitely in alignment on very similar things that we do to grow. However, it doesn't mean that it's just like, it's bullshit. Because clearly, Chris, you've climbed some mountains, man. You've been in some valleys, but look at you today. Look at your success. So anyone that's listening and thinks, oh, these guys are just speaking a bunch of mumbo jumbo. No. This comes from real life, whether pain, whether, discomfort, whether dissatisfaction. It's all a part of this. It is all a part of this.
Yep. I always say the biggest thing that trumps anything else is experience. Experience trumps anything. Yeah. So your ability to have experience in life, experience in certain areas, you'll trump anything else. You'll trump skills. Experience does. So the truth is, all the things that we go through in life are all basically experiences that we have now. We've collectively put them into a book of a bio of our story. And we can now tell you all the shit that we went through, and hopefully we can help you divert from not doing that. But the reality is, you probably won't listen, because I didn't listen, and neither did you. So the human behavior pattern is we can expect that people will probably listen, but never actually implement. That's how life works, which is why these kind of podcasts will be valuable for the rest of their lives, because people are going to constantly go back and listen at some point, like, oh shit, I should listen to that like 5 years ago. Oh, I should listen to that like 10 years ago. Man, if I only had done that. Yeah. Well, okay. But you won't. That's just what it is. And there's a very small few of you that will, a very small percentage of you that will. Yeah. So not saying nobody will, but small percentage will.
Yeah.
Anyways, brother, I appreciate you always. My co-hostess for the mostest all year long. We got one more show for the whole entire year, so I'm excited for that one when we guest next week. But always bringing out some mad fire here, laying it out, keeping it true and keeping it honest and real. I think that's the only way to be in life. Be as authentic as you possibly can, because we're not here to sell pocket knives and books and freaking handkerchiefs. We're here to actually to present reality and value.
That's so true. Yeah. And I know your heart, Chris, and I know my heart. Honestly, when you asked me to do this podcast and I heard your vision for it and goal, ultimately, man, for any listener out there, this is a big value piece of just giving back to others. Truly, I hope that people that listen to this, it does light the fire and it does change your life. And you can look back on this podcast and go, hey, that was the turning point for me. Because if there's anything that I find fulfillment in life, is watching others take control and amplify their life by the value, not just that I give, that I see others give and everything else. It's a huge celebration. When we win together, we all win. And I hope that, all the listeners out there that, hey, you found some change in this or some value or whatever it is, because that's truly, I know my heart's intent and I know Chris's intent. We're trying to change the world, and you have to do it one podcast at a time, one interview at a time, one day at a time. And that's how it happens.
Absolutely. My intent was that if whoever's today driving in your car, walking and listening on an AirPod, and it affects you, it impacts you, helps you, elevates you, opens your mind, blows your mind in any way, shape, or form, and it makes you look at things differently and maybe makes you want to make some changes, that's a win to me. If it's one person out there that hears this today, and it's like, oh, this hit me in a place that's never hit me before, and I see it like it's never seen before, I want to make some changes. That's a win for me. And I know it's for you too, Ross. So dude, awesome. All right. I'll look forward to that. As always, appreciate your support on this, and we look forward to next week, our last show of the year. But until next week, everybody go out there and crush it and have an amazing day. I love you all. Thanks, brother.
See you, man.
Thanks.